Is there anybody else out there that's like me, you're recovering, or maybe you're currently dreaming about divorce? Yes, I mean, there was a time in my marriage where I knew I was going to get the couch, he was going to get the water bed, I was going to get the bed in the guest bedroom. We were going to share custody of the dog and, of course, of our daughter. I knew how we were going to split the 401k, but there was a thought in my mind that I kind of knew about our investments, and my husband kind of didn't, and I was like, maybe I could hide some now. I mean, I had this all going on in my mind. And I mean, it was bad, right? But the worst fantasy, the one that I talk about, because nobody ever talks about this, but we do it, is that the convenience of maybe we won't have to get divorced because maybe he'll just drop dead. Imagine one of his friends calling me and saying, massive heart attack, he's gone, I'm sorry. And you're going, or the plane would go down, everybody else would live but my husband. Because I was always kind to other people. I never wanted anyone else to die except for my husband. You know, robbers would come in, he has a small business downtown. Robbers would come in, shoot the place up, everybody would live but my husband. So, yes. And I even had his funeral planned out. I knew we would have it at the restaurant where we met. It was very romantic. I was going to have a big white tent, invite everybody, the whole town, put an ad in the paper. I was going to serve lamb on a stick because that was his favorite food. He loved lamb. I was going to serve all of his favorite beers, Magic Hat #9. And even as I was planning the funeral, I was like, yeah, I know his favorite beers. I know his favorite food. See, I'm a good wife. He's the one that's the problem. You know? And, but I knew as I was thinking about this that there was a problem because even as I thought about the divorce fantasy, I could never get to the eulogy. You know, I would get there in my mind and I would stand up and I would think, nothing, you know, and it was just one negative thing after another, words that I can't say here because somebody will be offended, I'm sure. But, you know, I couldn't think of a positive thing to say in the eulogy. And, you know, you just don't say a string of bad things about someone who was unfortunately passed away. So I knew our marriage was in the pits. I sort of knew why it was in the pits. My husband had opened a business about 4 months before we had our daughter. So the day my daughter was born, I had a C-section, she was breech, and I was the only one with an income. We had to take a second mortgage on our house to fund his business, so we were $40,000 in debt, and I was the only person who could work and earn money. His business wasn't going to earn money for about 2 years. And he was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and after work he would hang out with his friends or he'd go out on a bike ride. So he left for work at 6 in the morning. He came home from work sometimes around 9, sometimes 10. And I was home alone with a baby, suffering from postpartum depression. I worked at home. I would nurse her with my one arm and type with the other hand, so I'm a freelance writer. And slowly over time, just resentment growing. Why isn't he here? Why isn't he helping me? Why is he out with his friends when he could be home helping me? But I wasn't asking for help. And we'll get into that, the problem of that. The perfectionist mother, I think there's probably a lot of us out there, we want to believe we can be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, but these are the things that drive our marriages into the toilet. So if I can leave you with anything, know that imperfection is fine. It's better to admit it than to try to be perfect and then have your marriage fall apart because you can't admit that you need help. So about 2 years ago, after I was having these death fantasies every day, I said, you know, I sat my husband down and I said, look, we need to work on this, or I'm going to have an affair, I'm going to ask for a divorce, or I'm going to kill you. We need to do something. And interestingly, of those 3, it was the affair that got him to sit up and go, you're having an affair? And I said, no, but I'm attracted to other people, I notice other people, I'm young, and I keep thinking that there's somebody else out there. I was honest with him. I was like, you know, I feel like maybe I married the wrong person. Our marriage is that bad. And so he agreed to work with me. And this is a big important point for improving your marriage. It takes 2 people. It can't just be one person saying, yeah, I'm trying to change myself, I'm doing all this self-improvement, I'm trying to change my marriage, and then the other person's not doing anything. It takes 2 people to go from planning the funeral to planning the second honeymoon. So he worked with me. Now, he didn't necessarily read all the books. I did not take him to marriage counseling. My husband is the strong and silent type. I could envision exactly what would happen in marriage counseling if we went, and it would be the counselor asking him what's wrong, and he would say, I don't know, ask my wife, she told me to come. There would be conversations like that. So, because he didn't think anything was wrong. He truly thought that, you know, it's just a hard time, we have a 2-year-old, you know, we have a new business, it's going to get easier when these things go away. And I said, no, they're not going to go away unless we make them go away. And so I read 12 marital improvement books, one after the other. I broke our problems down into categories: sex, romance, intimacy, communication, conversation. I mean, we had nothing to talk about. We would go out to dinner, because people tell you after you have a child you should have date night, right? We would go to date night, and this is what our date night looked like. How was your day? Okay. Didn't we used to talk to each other? And when we did talk, we fought. And we fought about the craziest things. How to fold the laundry. Huge, huge argument. What can go on the bathroom counter? He didn't want my soap on there, but his soap was allowed. I could go into all these arguments. But I mean, we've gotten huge arguments over these things. And now that our marriage is good, I see his things on the bathroom counter, and I'm like, oh, he left a drink cup there. Or he actually folded the laundry one day the way I have been asking him to, and I noticed it. But when I noticed it, I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to give him a I told you so. And that's how far we've come, because then he was like, wait, you didn't tell me that I'm doing it your way, and I want to be attaboy, but we can actually talk about these things. So you really can get to that point. And we really are in a good place. And not a day goes by that I don't look at him and say, I'm glad you're in my life. So I went from, I wish you would drop dead, to I'm glad you're in my life. And, you know, we'll get into some of the things that I did so that you can use if you are a current divorce daydreamer at this moment, or maybe later if you ever get to that stage.